I've probably been on 100 flights or so in my life, but I've never really been okay with flying because I've always had really bad anxiety once I got in the air. The same thing happens pretty much every time. I am okay going on a flight, boarding the plane takes off, everything is fine, except the part where I did read that you're most likely to get in an accident if a duck or a goose hits the plane engine when you take off, so then the first 5 minutes are super stressful for me, and then I feel better. And then if we don't hit a goose or a duck, I am excited, we're in the air, everything's going great, we're taking off, the pilot's making his jokes, everybody's doing their thing, and then that is when the panic hits me. Because for some reason, every time I go on a plane, I always just remember, oh my goodness, I'm in the air, in a giant metal bird-looking thing, next to people I have never met in my life, and I'm just trusting them and this plane and this pilot to keep me alive. So then I usually end up on my Nintendo Switch playing Animal Crossing or something to take my mind off things for a bit, but then it always comes back around to me getting scared of turbulence. And I always do that thing when I'm in my plane, is if there's turbulence, I always kind of look at the flight attendants like, are y'all good? Because you get hit with one of those Spirit Airlines bumper hits, and you might look at the flight attendant like, hey, we're gonna live, right? I mean, everything's fine. You're handing out ginger ale, which is obviously the best snack or drink you can get on a plane, so everything's okay, right, Mary? Please tell me everything's okay, Mary. But no matter how many times the pilot or the flight attendant or my dad or anybody in my life would tell me, you're okay, it's just turbulence, you're just kind of bouncing up and down, I always just thought at any moment that the plane would just nosedive right down to the ocean, and that would be the end of it for old Ryan. Then recently a pilot turned TikToker named Anna Paul put something on TikTok that somehow hit my For You page and blessed me and my anxiety with the most calming piece of advice and information about flying that I had ever been told in my life. Because I'm used to pilots being like, oh, you're fine, it's just a little bumpy, nothing we can't handle, and they do that little laugh, and I'm like, I don't like that laugh. What was that laugh? What do you know that I don't? What Anna Paul said in this TikTok, and I'm paraphrasing, was you're basically in a giant tank, right? And then fill the tank up with Jell-O. Doesn't matter what flavor of Jell-O, but let's just say it's cherry. So you have a whole tank full of Jell-O, and then you take the plane and you put the plane in the middle of the Jell-O and you submerge it. And if you start moving the tank, the Jell-O is going to shake a little bit, and so will the plane, but the plane isn't going anywhere. The plane's not going down or up because it's in this Jell-O. And the legend, Miss Paul, said that's exactly what happens when you're flying and there's turbulence. You're not going to be able to go all the way up or down because your plane is basically in Jell-O. So you're going to bounce a little bit and some things might happen, but the pressure of the air from all around is basically wrapping around the plane like it's gelatin. So you'll never really go anywhere. There's nothing more comforting to me than thinking about being in a giant thing of Jell-O anyway. So next time I'm on an airplane and I'm in that sucker, I'm gonna feel cozy as hell that I'm surrounded by a bunch of gelatin. So thank you to Anna Paul. If you're out there floating around a big tub of Jell-O, I really appreciate you saving my anxiety when it comes to flying on a plane. That's it. Everything's gonna be okay if you fly and you're like me and you're nervous. Just put yourself in a big bowl of Jell-O like the plane and everything's gonna be alright. You may bounce and jiggle a bit, but you won't fold. Get it? My money won't jiggle. It folds. Okay.